Rent to own. This is a new program that's becoming increasingly popular in Southern Ontario. Stay tuned to this episode of Prime Properties TV to see what this is all about and how you can benefit as a landlord and an owner. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. So glad you could join us here. Today we'll be going over an ever-growing popular program called Rent to Own, or RTO. Some of you may have heard of it before. Some of you may have seen it on subway ads or newspapers or classified ads on Kijiji and Craigslist. Now, what is it? Well, traditionally speaking, a rent-to-own program is basically an agreement that outlines an option for the tenant to purchase the property they are living in on a set price on a set date. A good way to think of it is usually kind of like when you lease a car. You know, when you lease a car, you lease it for about 4 months on agreed upon monthly payment or rent, and at the end of the lease, you have an option to purchase this vehicle. Similar to that concept, that's exactly how rent to own actually works. Fairly straightforward, right? Now, here are some terms I'll be using in this episode so that you guys aren't confused. Number one, landlord, seller. This is the person that owns the property and has agreed to lease out their property for a set price and has provided the tenant buyer the option to purchase later in the future. Number two, tenant buyer. This is the person that will lease and live in that space from the landlord seller and have the option to buy the property in the future. Okay? Now, before I talk about each perspective, I'd like to warn all my viewers that this is a new program and make sure you're working with qualified individuals who know the process, because I know there are some not so nice companies out there that do not create a win-win situation for the landlord seller and the tenant buyer, as this is a fairly new sub-market in real estate. So please, please be aware. Now, why this makes sense for a landlord seller? Number one, you have upfront return on investment. With rent to own, the tenant buyer provides something we call an option fee. This amount varies depending on the negotiations, and it's kind of like a deposit. So a landlord seller will have upfront money to sell the property a few years down the road. I know some landlord sellers have actually gotten more than their amount of down payment for the property, which is pretty sweet. Two, increased cash flow. If you want to learn more about cash flow on investment properties, click on the little description I have below in the click on the link in the description I have below. The landlord seller usually receives higher than market rent for the property, and this is anywhere between $100 to $300 depending on the market, depending on the area and negotiations. This is pretty awesome because as a landlord seller, you are getting additional cash flow out of your investment property. Generally, if there are no defaults, the landlord seller provides the tenant buyer with credits each month that would be put towards the tenant buyer's purchase of the property. Now, this means that the tenant buyer is kind of like paying in advance for the property with higher cash flow of rent for the landlord seller. Three, agreed upon price. You know your return on investment right from the get-go. There's no worrying about appreciation, market crashes, and etc. It's set in stone. Four, here's a bonus. Your tenant buyer will take care of your investment because they will own it eventually. Less headaches. Five, here's a bonus for you landlord sellers. Sometimes the tenant doesn't actually exercise their option to buy or delays it. Just, you know what that means? More money for you. So all in all, this is like a safer and easier flip as a landlord seller. Now, why this makes sense for the tenant buyer. Number one, less or no capital as a tenant buyer. This program makes sense if you don't have the money for a full down payment on a resale with the ever growing real estate prices in Southern Ontario. Two, you have bad credit. For some reasons, some other reasons are if you have a poor credit rating and banks just don't want to lend you money right now. You can use the time before you exercise your option to purchase to repair and fix your credit at the same time while you buy your dream home for a set price before the market price outruns what you can pay, which is fantastic as a tenant buyer. Three, if you have no credit. Another reason is if you are new to the country and do not have an established credit rating, you're able to purchase something and build your credit before you exercise your option to buy. And the banks will lend you money when you close because you're working on building up your credit. 4, agreed upon price. Sometimes when you exercise your option to purchase your potential home, it's actually worth more than the agreed upon price. And you've effectively made money off appreciation. This is an easy way to enter the real estate investment market if you have no capital, bad credit, or no credit. 5, bonus, pride of ownership. You know you own the property, so you're going to take care of it, and it's going to be a good return. Now, thank you guys all for watching. If you learned something or simply enjoyed watching this video, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube Prime Properties channel and click on the little bell so that you'll be notified when we put up new content to continue your education in real estate with our other videos on the channel. If you have any questions, make sure you contact me directly or leave a comment in the comment section below. Our team will do our best to answer them for you. And remember, make sure you share this with your family and friends because I always say an educated consumer is the best consumer. I'll see you next time, Toronto.